And welcome to the Research Corner for this week. My name is Kevin Hill, Head of Research, here with our very own Thomas Wasson. We're going to talk about a little bit about visibility.
Definitely. I mean, it's an exciting thing. It's an important thing. And for most of the supply chain, we'll figure one part of the chain, it's just getting all the parts to talk to each other that becomes the problem.
It really does. So this comes from a survey that we did in conjunction and partnership with Tive about visibility. But let's set the stage of what's happening kind of in the refrigerated reefer market. And then we'll talk about visibility. So if we throw up the first slide up here, and we will see reefer outbound tender volume index along with outbound rejections. And what do we see? We see a collapsing market.
We do, and this was something I was looking at earlier as well. When we started to see the decline, it began around March. And so when you're thinking about the reefer market, the biggest thing that's been impacting it in normally freight markets is consumer demand. So we see the impacts of inflation right here on the volumes because you just can't purchase as much. I can't buy as much of my frozen or refrigerated goods because the prices are going up.
Units, it's all about units. To start the year, it's just amazing to see this chart though, because we're bumping 40% rejection rate. So 2 out of every 5 loads being rejected. Now it's about 1 out of every 12 loads that are being rejected. So it's a completely different market. But once we talk about visibility, we'll throw up the survey results right here, and we will talk about, how much freight is really tracked. How prevalent is visibility? Oh, sorry, the first slide here is on business inventory.
Great expectations.
Great expectations, yeah. So we're seeing it's kind of split, moderate increase and moderate decrease. Moderate increase kind of wins out on this, but it kind of tells me that no one really knows where inventories are going to go.
And it's an interesting thing because we see it as well. We've talked about it, Wall Street Journal's talked about it, a bifurcation of inventories. And so when we hear about it, it's really a tale of 2 different types of inventories. General retail merchandising and all other retailers. The guys who do the general retails, our Targets, our Walmarts, they're the ones that are getting hit. We're seeing this response where they're expecting moderate increase because all the things are taste-oriented, demand seasonality, and they got too much of it.
You're talking about CPG, right?
Yeah.
CPG companies are doing really well. Grocery store retailers are actually running minus negative inventory compared to last year. You get into the Walmarts and Targets and you're looking at 20 to 30% more inventory. You get really discretionary, and we're going to get some really good information on that coming into Q2 earnings season. But you're seeing maybe a doubling of inventory levels right now, the more discretionary you get.
Completely, and that's what we're seeing. People are gonna buy food, you're gonna buy your CPG and your snacks, but you're not gonna buy that extra clothing, you're not gonna buy that furniture, that TV. And so that is where I really like the survey data because it does show us that. It shows us where a lot of our respondents says, yeah, it's definitely gonna go up. And they're probably in that general merchandising category. And then the other guys are saying, well, probably not because I'm still pushing product, which is most of our consumer staples and things we need to eat.
Exactly right. Let's go to the next survey results. We'll see tracking practices, and what we see is road, ground transportation, trucking. About 80% of the respondents say that most of the loads are tracked. Now you get into ocean, rail, air, it's not nearly as much, maybe 1 out of every 4 loads.
And completely, and it reminds me of, it's easier to track your road segments in the transportation. So whether you're going from a DC or each part of the supply chain that utilizes road transportation, it's a lot easier to do it because you're having just one part. You're going from point A to point B. But the reason I also think with rail, ocean, and air that we're seeing the lower amounts is because there's so many other moving parts. You're going from the plane, you're going from the dock, you're going into a warehouse, a forwarder. And so we haven't really cracked that code on visibility yet on how just to get all of these different interested groups to
You have a lot of time in there, a lot of remoteness, somewhere in the middle of the Pacific. But that's getting better each and every day. I think compared to what it was 3-4 years ago, tracking visibility on ocean shipments has made some great strides.
And it's remarkable because you talk to the guys, you got to have the right hardware. You got to make sure the battery can survive a few months. Can you even get a signal out of it inside a container? And so, there's so many other hurdles that we've made a lot of progress on. But like you said, the technology has to keep maturing and it has to get more efficient so we can, figure it out.
And it also goes back to, do we stick a tracking device on the container itself, on the merchandise within the container? on the ship. And, who knows? So that's part of it too. Let's throw up the next survey result here. The next chart, and what we're going to find is, besides where my freight is, what other conditions are shippers monitoring? Temperature being number one, right? It's probably, I don't want to say it's the easiest measure, but it makes the most sense. It's front of mind, certainly. Besides that, there's not really a lot of conditional visibility or tracking involved right now.
Completely. Temperature is king. I mean, there's so much issues with spoilage as well as temperature control. Something as simple as hauling ice cream can get into a horrible mess if you don't do it right. So you're going to see that push for temperature control to make sure. Humidity and other things, probably for specialized items, you're not going to see as much, but definitely I feel like having that temperature is kind of the next frontier, just to make sure that you save money and you don't just, waste things.
Exactly right. So you can find this white paper on freightwaves.com in the white paper section. It's a co-sponsored or co-partnered research paper we did with Tive. But with that, that's it for Research Corner. And stay tuned. After the break, we'll have more action for you.